Good evening, everybody. It's 9:30 on the East Coast, 6:30 on the West Coast. It's time for your weekly Calamity Jane live stream. James, how are you doing this evening?
Not bad. How are you?
I'm doing all right. I'm doing all right. Staying busy, keeping busy, being busy, all of the things that stay busy.
A lot of busy, so you must be really busy.
I try. I try. It's better to be out doing something than sitting home and watching more episodes of South Park that I have not seen in a long time. I actually watched the movie again for the first time in a very long time yesterday.
How many movies have they made? Just
Just
one?
just the one, bigger, longer, and uncut. And it's weird to me because that movie came out in 98, 99, 99. It came out in
Yeah.
1999. I was 18 years old and unbelievably naive. I had
Mhm.
no idea that the subtitle was a penis joke
I
until
didn't know that either until now.
bigger, longer, and uncut.
I didn't even realize that.
It
You
is,
didn't put it together. That's so funny.
yeah, I read it. I rented it from Apple TV because I've been watching a lot of South Park, and I'm like, yeah, and I haven't seen that movie in so long. And so I turned it on, and I looked at the subtitle, bigger, longer. Oh my god, I can't believe I'm 40 and I'm just now realizing
Well, it's so
this.
see it all. Like, you have to explain it to me. Like, and, but I'm not a big South Park fan. I mean, I watch South Park, but I never was religiously watching every day or anything either. But that's
Yeah,
really
yeah. Well, I feel like the only reason I got it now too was they did that video game. They did the sequel, the Fractured But Whole.
yes,
But if you
yeah,
read it the right way, right, the Fractured Butthole, right? I mean, they just
yeah.
it's just Trey Parker being a 14-year-old as always.
Yeah, yeah. That one I got.
Yeah, yeah, that one's really obvious. But yeah, the movie, I can't believe. I mean, I've seen that movie so many times when I was younger, when I was in high school and in early days of college, that even watching it last night, I remember every single minute of that movie. I haven't seen it in 20 years. And I watch it and I'm just immediately doing all the dialogue and doing all of the. I can still sing all of the songs. I mean, it is. I must have watched that movie a lot. I don't remember seeing it that many times, but it is just burned into my long term synapses.
Wow.
So anyway, yeah. So revelations for you. It is interesting. South Park, like so many shows that have been on for so long, especially spanning the '90s and the early 2000s, is such a time capsule.
Yeah.
Um, South
Yes.
Park in particular because it spanned 9/11, right? Like the X Files largely disappeared right around 9/11, and then came back years later to varying middling success. But South Park has been a consistent fixture
Yeah.
since what, 98, 97, something like that. I mean, I was a sophomore in high school, I think, when it premiered, so it had to be 96
Hmm. Hmm.
or 90 97, I think. Yeah. 96, 97, somewhere around there.
Hmm.
And and then it's obviously still on, and I had forgotten the first episode that they did back after 9/11, and it was a parody of Looney Tunes where Cartman takes on the role of Bugs Bunny and Osama bin Laden takes on the role of Elmer Fudd, and it's just this really bad. I mean, it's so bad. I mean, I get what they were trying to do in terms of we're not going to let you get the best of us, so we're going to make fun of you. But oof,
Yeah.
wow. But in any case, it is interesting because it look watching the pre 9/11 episodes. It's almost like a look into an alternate reality.
Hmm.
The show was so innocent, almost like
Yeah.
weirdly innocent, and 9/11 changed it significantly.
Hmm.
The episode that permanently changed Cartman from a jerk to a murderous sociopath. The um the I can't remember if it's called Scott Tenorman Must Die or something like that, but the episode basically revolves around this bully tormenting Cartman, and it drives Cartman to insanity, and he actually murders and cooks Scott Tenorman's parents in a chili and then tricks him into eating it, then licks Scott Tenorman's tears while Radiohead makes fun of him for being such a loser.
Yeah.
and it is a great episode, but it permanently changed Cartman, right?
Yeah.
He became the Cartman that everybody knows now in that episode. Before, he was just kind of a bully, like a fat bully.
Yeah.
Um, and that was, I believe, especially watching it now, it just 9/11 changed everybody. I mean, it changed society. It changed the United States. It changed how entertainment was made. It was changed the type of entertainment that was made. Um, it just changed the stories within entertainment. And South Park is a really interesting case study in that very thing.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm wondering like the other, the show that I default to is The Simpsons as far as longevity. So I'm wondering how The Simpsons changed, around, when they were on and you do that type of stuff.
Yeah, I had stopped watching The Simpsons by that point, but I suspect that you're right. I suspect that The Simpsons. I mean, I know like this. The Simpsons always stayed relatively apolitical and out of everything, where South Park was always just right on the bleeding edge of making fun of popular culture and the mores of the time. But yeah, I mean, even The Simpsons is a bit of a time capsule looking back on it. With that, because it premiered in '89, right? So it was around for a very long time before 9/11 happened, and and I suspect that Simpsons before September 11th and after, it's the same exact thing as South Park for sure.
Yeah, I just don't know if I have the patience to want to sit down. I mean, I used to watch Simpsons all the time too, but I stopped well before 9/11. So
yeah, me too.
I don't know if I have the patience to sit down and watch all the episodes to see, roughly when production happened around 9/11. But yeah, I'm curious. Not that curious, I guess. So.
Well, it is interesting. I mean, one of my favorite episodes of The Simpsons, and it was I think it was in season 10, basically the last season that I actually enjoyed. It's the one where Barney draws the short straw and becomes a designated driver for a night at Moe's, and then winds up driving to New York City in Homer's car. And then Homer gets a call from the New York City police saying, hey, your car is parked at One World Trade Center Plaza.
Wow.
And he goes, and his car is sitting in the plaza between the two World Trade Center towers.
Yeah.
And it's just, it's a hilarious episode. It's interesting. I mean, you can still watch it. They haven't memory hold that episode or anything like that. But that is definitely like what you're talking about in terms of being a time capsule.
Yeah. I remember that episode. I remember that. I was watching around then too. That's the episode where they said Homer goes to New York, and that was kind of the term, right?
Yeah. That was a real jump the shark episode, but it was a really good episode, though. I mean, there's some great moments where he picks up the parking ticket and it's got a number to call, right?
Yeah.
And he calls them, and it's just you have contacted the New York City Parking Department, and it goes on and on and on. But it's just weird things please wait by your car between the hours of 6 a.m. and 10 p.m. for Officer Steve Grabowski. I love the idea that all parking enforcement officers in New York are named Steve. And you will be assessed a small, large lateness fee.
For some reason in that episode, the one that stood out to me was when Homer was ordering a hot dog from that hot dog vendor guy, and he kept saying this is
Clapcrush, yeah, Clapcrush, or whatever.
For some reason, that's my
I remember. And then he eats all of these oh, I'm so thirsty. What do you have to drink? I have crab juice and Mountain Dew. Homer goes, ew, I'll take the crab juice. See, I mean, it's a great episode, right? And it was one of the last episodes that I have any memory of.
Well, speaking of animation, I guess I can.
Yeah, I mean, I feel that was a good segue, good transition.
We'll keep going here. I will screen. There's a nice long intro to kind of just shoot the breeze and talk about animation stuff.
ease us into the evening. It was all animation too. South Park
Yeah.
and Simpsons. I mean,
Yeah. Where we left off last week? Well, I'm still working on this scene here where she jumps off the bike,
hmm
turns around. I'm gonna have her start working on the bike. Yeah, so that's where I'm gonna pick up, and we can still talk about animation, or there's other stuff I was gonna talk about too. I kind of talked to you about this, offline, about other shows that might be worth checking out. So one, I gave you a homework assignment to maybe watch an episode of Outer Range on Amazon. I don't know if you had a chance to. I don't know if you had time between yesterday and today to do that, but
no, I came so close to it. And I'm like, I don't want to watch anything serious right now. So I just watched more South Park.
yeah, that's fair. I get it. Anyways, but yeah, I was Amit and I've been watching it, and we like it. It's very tense. Yeah, like you said, you're spot on and trying to pass it up if you didn't want to watch anything serious, because it's kind of like an anxiety-inducing kind of show a little bit.
hmm
You cut the tension with a knife, kind of a thing, in some parts. But I really like the show. It's good fun. My concern though is it'll end up being like what happened with Lost, where you have this giant mystery object or mystery theme, and you're just gonna get let down when you find out what it is.
hmm hmm
It's kind of where I'm worried about with this show. The show is a great setup, but yeah, I'm worried about being let down. That's my only concern so far.
Well, it wasn't created or co-created by J.J. Abrams, was it?
Yeah, that's the good part. Yes, that's the good.
So yeah,
So yeah, for sure.
you're batting 1,000 compared to that. I mean, all things considered, as long as it's not being done by Damon Lindelof or uh, um, uh, J.J. Abrams, you're in good shape. For me, Damon Lindelof is the most overrated TV and screenwriter working in Hollywood today.
What's he done? I'm not familiar.
Well, he was co-showrunner on Lost,
Okay.
with Carlton Cuse. Now, Carlton Cuse I like a lot. He actually did a couple of things, but my favorite thing that he's done other than Lost was The Adventures of Briscoe County Jr.,
Oh,
which, interestingly, is partially where the title of our cartoon came from.
yeah.
It's partially inspired by Briscoe County.
Yeah.
And anyway, so he did that. So I like Carlton Cuse a fair amount. Damon Lindelof also he wrote Watchmen for HBO, or yeah, I think that was the name of the show. That sort of spin-off pseudo sequel. He
Yeah.
did The Leftovers for HBO as well. He did. He wrote what was that horrible alien prequel? Prometheus. He wrote Prometheus.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Before that, he was a comic book writer, and it's one of the few things I've actually really genuinely liked of his. He wrote the Ultimate Hulk versus Ultimate Wolverine storyline, which was pretty good. I mean, it was a limited series, so it was only like 8 issues or something like that. And the interesting backstory to that one is he did the first 2 issues and then got hired onto Lost and quit. And then years later came back and finished off the series.
Wow.
Yeah.
Um, Hulk versus Ultimate Wolverine.
Yeah, Ultimate Hulk versus Ultimate Wolverine. It's a good arc. Yeah, I definitely look it up.
So it's not the Prime Marvel timeline.
No, it's the Ultimates. It's
Uh, huh. Okay. Pretty good. I didn't trust anything with Ultimates in it. It's like, why am I reading this? It's not the Prime. It's not the Prime timeline. So why do I care?
Sure. I mean, there's a lot of bad crap in the Ultimates timeline. I like Ultimate Spider-Man. I mean, that's where Miles Morales came from.
Yeah.
So I do like that. The Ultimates Iron Man was not good. And Ultimate X-Men was hit or miss. But yeah. Yeah. In general, there wasn't a lot of the Ultimates um, what's the word I'm looking for? Imprint or whatever that I cared for.
Uh-huh.
But
But yeah, Lindelof. Okay, well, he's been kind of all over the place. That's
oh yeah, he's I mean he's prolific, but I mean I didn't I know some people really loved Leftovers. I did not care for it. I haven't seen Watchmen, so I can't make a value judgment on that show at least. People seem to love it as well, but frankly the reason why I've avoided it is because Lindelof worked on it.
What?
Um,
Really?
yeah, I just Prometheus was terrible, and there's other movies too that I'm just forgetting right now. But yeah, his Ovra is not in my top favorites list.
But yeah, you talked about some stuff that's been pretty decent though, right? So
Sure, like I enjoyed Lost a lot. Um, Enough video to maintain smooth. Well, I'm sorry, I'm getting an error message from YouTube.
they don't want us to be on YouTube tonight.
They're just it's stream status poor right now, so I apologize to anybody who's watching this and getting a very choppy feed. My internet hasn't changed. James' internet hasn't changed either. This is a YouTube problem, so I have zero control over it. I apologize. Okay, now YouTube seems to be fine again. Anyway,
Like some sorts or some technical thing, yeah.
yeah. Anyway, but yeah, no, I mean, like, yeah, I mean, I did enjoy Lost. I know some people really, really loathed the last couple of seasons. I enjoyed it. I didn't hate it as much as some people did. But honestly, I think a lot of that had to do, you know, the quality of it had a lot to do with people like Carlton Cuse, who inherited J.J. Abrams' mystery box nonsense and were just trying to make the best of a bad situation. I mean, J.J. Abrams would be the first to admit, and I believe he's even said it in an interview, when people have asked him, like, what was the deal with the polar bear? And his response was something along the lines of, I don't know, I just thought it was a cool visual.
Gosh, yeah, it tells you everything right there.
Mm-hmm.
That's exactly why I didn't want to watch the show. Because I just had a feeling that this show, they didn't know what they were doing. You know, they had a really cool first season, and they had a hook, and then that was it. And they were just making stuff up every week, whether it was giant whirlwind stuff causing trees to blow back and forth, and let your imagination run wild. It didn't matter because their imagination was running wild too. They had no through line. It drove me nuts.
For what it's worth, I think they did start trying to figure it out.
Oh, yeah.
And they did explain some things. Your mileage will vary, on whether or not you think it's reasonable or believable, but they do try to explain a lot of it. And in fact, they got so many complaints about the last season not answering a lot of the unanswered questions. For instance, the polar bear.
Yeah.
They actually did a series of shorts that they released on, I think, NBC's website or ABC's website, that specifically explained where the polar bear came from, where the supply drops were coming from, why the supply drops continued even after the island got weird, etc., etc., etc.
Well, at least they tried, I guess.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
By the time I didn't even know what the polar bear thing was about. By then I was already. I didn't, like I said, I only watched the first season, a couple episodes of the first season. That was enough for me to eject. So, but yeah, that's yeah. So I had no idea about this polar bear stuff. So, but yeah, bummer. Some people were more of this. So what kept you in the show? What made you stick with it?
I mean, I found the mystery compelling, and I didn't really care where it went. I was enjoying I was enjoying the spectacle of it, quite frankly. Pure and
Okay.
simple. I just thought the spectacle was fun, and there were certain characters that I liked. I mean, I liked Jack. I liked Saeed up until the point where he had the hots for the generic white girl character, and then when she died, I'm sorry guys, I'm spoiling everything here. The statute of limitation on spoilers on Lost is over and done with as far as I'm concerned. Um, then he kind of just lost his mind and became this sort of, rambling, directionless, purposeless character. And Saeed was one of my favorite characters. And so I was really bummed to see him kind of fall apart as a result of that. And, but I liked Jack, and I liked Charlie, and I liked Locke. So there was a lot of characters that I really liked in the show.
Was Locke like kind of the half villain kind of guy?
He did become the villain, but it was the villain sort of inhabiting Locke's body, basically.
Okay.
Yeah.
All
So
right.
and that's sort of one of the big reveals is that the bad guy can sort of it can inhabit the soul of other people.
Oh, okay.
So, but in any case, yeah, Jacob and the smoke monster was the bad guy, disembodied, blah blah blah. I mean, I can explain all of the lore in as much as I've remembered it. I haven't seen it since since the season finale aired, and that was 10 years ago now, 15 years ago, something like that.
It's been that long. Jeez.
It's been a long time. I can Google it real quick. Yeah, 2010. So 12 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah.
Time
So
flies.
it's been a minute. Um, so
Well,
I mean, but that's how much the show impacted me. I mean, I remember as much as I do after 12 years is pretty significant.
hmm. Well, I mean, you might like Outer Range then. This might be right up your alley. I mean, it's got the mystery box element to it for sure. The characters I think are pretty interesting. They're pretty, yeah. It's a really nice so far for a first season. I'm really no complaints at all. I like every episode. Everything that goes on. It's not necessarily a slow burn. There's plenty of interesting things kind of happening and character building. The pacing's at least to me feels pretty nice. But yeah, it's good. Um,
Yeah, I'm doing the same thing. Like Flight Attendant season 2 just premiered, and I'm
oh,
excited about that one.
yeah.
But like they're doing HBO always does a weekly, and I'm just like I'm gonna wait until like 3 or 4 episodes are out, and I think 3 or 4 episodes of Outer Range are out. But I'm just gonna that one I'm probably gonna wait and just binge the whole thing. So
Yeah.
I'm just waiting for the whole season to come out because Amazon does weekly releases too, if my memory serves.
So it's interesting. So Amazon's release schedule was I didn't realize I didn't notice this, but I guess when the first episode was released, they released 2 episodes.
Yeah,
They released another 2 episodes. So are they just doing that every week? It's released two at a time?
I don't know. I don't know. I mean, like they did the same thing with Twin Peaks. They released the first 4 episodes in a season 3 in a batch, and then this was technically Showtime, but so I don't know. And I was watching it through Amazon, so never mind. This is unrelated. Anyway, sorry. I'm just remembering the past right now. But in any case, yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it's that there's if that's their schema or what. If they're trying to like split the difference a little bit,
Mm,
so people have things to binge a little bit, but not sitting in
yeah.
front of the TV for 12 straight hours.
I gotta say, binging is not is kind of it's nice.
Yeah,
I like um kind of do it at your own pace a little bit. Yeah, actually like doing that. So uh, of course, you have to be careful because like there've been times where Amita and I will watch like the whole, like at least half the season, or probably or pretty much 75% of the season in like on a Saturday. Sometimes it's crazy. Then the whole day gets away from you. But for the most part, yeah, I'm all about binging. It's pretty cool.
yeah. I also think that I don't know. There was something awesome about Severance when you'd finish each episode, and especially in the last couple, and they would just end on these moments. You're like, oh,
Yeah.
because you knew you had to wait 7 days to see the next one.
Mhm.
Um, um, so there's something of value in that. But the interesting thing about like episodic releases, the most fun I've had when stuff was still released episodically was when I was still working in a building around other people, and it's that water cooler conversation.
And water polo talk. Yeah, it's true.
And now I work fully remote, and I don't see the same people every day all day, and there's less. I mean, you and I talk about this stuff all the time, but there's less people in general that I speak to regularly about this stuff, right?
Yeah, and oddly enough, to me, part of the reason why we started this stream is because this is what you and I are doing is what we used to do at work. Off and on, like take a break, come over and talk with each other about games, whatever. And so, when we started making, work on this cartoon, it was like, well, why don't we make it as close as we can to what it was back in the day, and just hang out at least a little bit and chat about pop culture stuff.
Oh yeah, no. People who watch this are definitely getting a bit of the inside baseball of Eric and James' past working relationship.
Yeah, but how exciting that is, I don't know.
I don't know. I mean, I know a couple of people who watch episodes from time to time because they told me they have. I have a friend who watched the Everything Everywhere All at Once episode, and she said she had to stop watching because she didn't want the rest of the movie spoiled.
Oh no, yeah,
So,
yeah, but I think we did a pretty good job avoiding spoilers on that one, didn't we? I think
yeah, I
so.
think so. I mean, I've seen it twice at this point, and so has she, and we're actually going to go see it a third time on Wednesday.
So funny.
Yeah, so it should be fun. I'm looking forward to it.
I wonder,
Um,
you know, I enjoyed that movie. I'm wondering how much of an impact, like how many people have actually had a chance to go see it, or if it's kind of like a sleeper movie. It feels like a sleeper movie. Like,
I don't know. All I know is that I took a walk today.
huh?
I was walking around the neighborhood, and I walked past a young woman who was walking her dog, and she was talking about, yeah, this movie was really good. It had a lot of action. It dealt with an Asian family. I'm like, oh my god,
Oh,
and what
cool.
else could it have been, right?
Yeah.
And it's just like, I think it's a big one. I think that people are noticing it. I think people are seeing it and really like digging it. Like, and I'm glad because it deserves to have that kind of fandom.
I hope so. I mean, yeah. I mean, you'd like to see good movies, at least in my opinion, like movies that you like get some sort of um, reception and some talk about them,
Mm-hmm.
where they don't disappear into complete obscurity when the next movie comes out. Um, but I don't know. I mean, I'm just
No, I agree. I mean, in using our platform of, the entire world that we've got here because everybody watches this.
uh,
Um,
20s of viewers.
yeah, yeah. Go see The Northman. I saw that this weekend as well.
Yeah,
Uh, it's Robert Eggers' new flick, and
yeah,
it's a movie version of the Old Norse myth that Hamlet was ultimately based on.
okay,
It is violent and full of action and is unbelievably historically accurate because that's kind of Robert Eggers' claim to fame. For those who didn't know, he did The Witch, and he did The Lighthouse, which was shockingly good. I mean, and I really love The Witch as well. And The Witch like gave birth to that Black Phillip meme. Do you like to live deliciously?
hmm
And so the Northman, if you've seen The Witch and the Lighthouse, you kind of get a sense of that. Honestly, my biggest disappointment, my two biggest disappointment, well, I guess in a nitpick, my two biggest disappointments with the film is that it was just in English, and the foreign language was only in special moments, like in the chants and the recitation of prophecies or like pledges or things like that. But then everything else was just in English,
hmm
which I don't know. I guess I've because Robert Eggers was so painstaking in making sure that all of the dialect and the grammar and the words and the vocabulary were so accurate, in both The Witch and the Lighthouse, that I kind of was expecting the Northman to be in that that level of authenticity as well, spoken in the language of the Vikings. Maybe it's a lost language, I don't know, and maybe that's why they couldn't do it. But
hmm
so that one was kind of a disappointment. Although I understand that most moviegoers don't want to watch a 2.5 hour long movie filled with subtitles.
hmm
The other thing too is that he was oddly prudish about nudity.
hmm
Vikings were naked a lot, just like a lot of old kind of
Old,
societies
old
were.
peoples.
Yeah, and there was nudity, but it was almost just butts, right?
Yeah. hmm
To the point where some of the framing and composition felt staged because they worked so hard to hide penises and breasts,
Really?
right? Yeah, and so there's a lovemaking scene, and I'm not a huge fan of sex scenes in general, just because I find them gratuitous and they're not really driving the story along that much.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there was a brief one, but it's all of the movements that Anna Taylor Joy, I think is her name, and Alexander Skarsgård make are done intentionally to obscure his penis and her breasts. And it actually took me out of the scene because you could see them maneuvering to hide their genitalia, right? And it just felt odd to me. And then I got taken out a second time. The last battle takes place in the mouth of a volcano, and both characters are completely naked in this battle.
Gee.
And most of the battle is in complete silhouette, which is fine. It looked really cool. But in the
Yeah.
last moment, when the final conflict happens, it's this medium wide shot of both actors who are conveniently positioned so that their legs are standing forward to obscure, again, their genitalia. And it was like, it was so obviously done that way that it
Uh,
felt weird. Like, what is this? This is a guy that I never thought shied away from like prudishness. Like, he would never shy away from nudity if that was what was authentic to the environment. And
yeah.
here I feel like he was actually composing shots to hide people's nudity. And it was like there's a couple of butts here and there, but who cares? Everybody's seen butts. No one gives a shit, a crap
Yeah.
about that. And so yeah, it was a little bit. Those were my two biggest disappointments. And then the one nitpick that I had was the fight choreography actually wasn't very good for a movie as violent as it was. The fight
Mhm.
choreography was pretty weak, actually, all things considered.
Huh.
My final verdict is it's my least favorite of his movies. It was still great. I still loved it though.
Mhm.
So, yeah.
So would you recommend seeing that in the theater though,
Oh
or
yeah,
no?
absolutely. It's another one of those kind of epics that yeah, you really want to see in the big screen, you know?
Yeah, I saw the trailers. It looked interesting. You know what? You know what's funny that you know what caught my eye more than anything else?
Hmm.
That Valkyrie looking type woman with the braces.
Braces, yeah,
Yeah,
that was a weird one. I didn't understand it.
yeah, dentistry back then or something like that. You
I
know,
don't
so,
I don't think they were supposed to be braces. I'm sure that if I understood more about Norse mythology, I'd understand that those are some sort of a teeth decoration or something like
yeah,
that. But
yeah. Oh yeah, she got her head harness off, and now she's got braces. You
yeah,
know.
it was definitely noticeable. Yeah, and it was a little bit weird, but
Yeah, but I thought
the,
that was. I don't know. It makes me think about the. I mean, it made the trailer stand out.
mhm.
This Viking woman, badass with braces on.
Yeah, I mean the thing that I loved about it is one of the things that I really this is one of the strengths of movies. So I was complaining about the stuff that I didn't like, but one of the things that I really loved about it was you know we kind of look back on old religions, Norse mythology, Roman, Greek myths, that kind of stuff, and we find them quaint and fun stories, but we don't take them seriously.
Sure.
But the people who lived in those times, this was religion to them. This was life. This was real, right? Like Odin wasn't just a fun, silly concept. Odin was a god who could, really ruin your day if you
Yeah.
pissed him off.
Mhm.
They were afraid of them and they loved them and they worshipped them like truly, right?
Mhm.
And this movie, like, it flirts with that line of are these gods real or are they false? But either way, the characters in the film fully truly believe in Odin, fully truly believe in the gates of hell and that kind of thing. Um, and it is a part of their existence. And that kind of, I don't know, it was really nice to see. Um, I mean, again, this is one of Robert Eggers' strengths, the authenticity of the behavior of those characters. There was no moment in the movie that I felt like he was winking at the camera going, yeah, we know this is silly, right? It was so genuine. The characters and the performers too were so genuine to the world that they were creating, or at least reinterpreting. I really love that. It felt authentic, which is I think why the English language aspect of it stood out for me, because
Uh-huh.
everything else about it was just so beautifully authentic and really committed to the world that they were creating.
Huh.
So,
Well, I mean, if we manage to get out and want to go see a movie, we'll put it on a list for something to go see. Yeah, for sure.
yeah. So, anyway, that was The Northman. Highly recommended, even if it is in my opinion the weakest of his three movies. I mean, it was really Robert Eggers doing an action movie, right?
Mm-hmm.
And to that extent, it was great. Was he, you know, uh, um, uh, as is he as skilled as some of the other contemporary action filmmakers? No. Is he John McTiernan? No, he's not John McTiernan. But John McTiernan is in jail for paying a private detective to spy on his enemies. I don't know if he's still in jail, but he was for a while.
Well, what's
So
he known for, this McTiernan guy?
John McTiernan, he directed Predator and Die Hard and a bunch of other great 80s and early 90s action flicks.
Mike. action movies. Then I mean, geez,
Mm-hmm.
and Die Hard. It's like,
Yeah,
man,
some of the most like iconic. Yeah.
it's crazy. Wow. So he's a paranoid guy, trying to. Okay, so that's a bummer. So he's
Mm.
not making any movies anytime soon.
Yeah. Well, the stuff that he made was pretty great, so it's fine. It you take what you can get. Sometimes you take the good with the bad.
Yeah, that's for sure.
But
Um, I think we're at a good spot where I can call it for tonight. I think.
okay.
I'm building the next pose. I mean, I got so a little bit more animation here. I'll play it one more time over, but yeah, we got her to jump off. Now she's looking over at the bike,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
prop, and then I'm gonna have her bend over
Mm-hmm.
and get ready to feed tinsel.
Cool. Wow, making progress. It's almost like you're making a cartoon or something.
Weird, huh?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's pretty crazy.
I'm not getting into describing how I'm putting these poses together. So as we talk, we're doing I'm doing half an hour. And I'm rushing through this, and
Well,
um,
if you could go back a couple of frames, you have just one intermediate right there. It's just such a subtle little couple of frames, but it makes all the difference in her turning around, right? It's really cool. It's a nice little touch that really lends weight to her moving around.
yeah, and if you saw, like, I'm trying to get this done in a half an hour for us just to kind of wrap up. And so I rushed through this. Like, there's some people that can beautifully animate every frame and all that stuff. But for me, I'm trying to just lay down some tent poles and then move on. If I have time, I'll go back and massage some more stuff. But when you watch it in real time, this is what I love about using Flash, is you can really recycle just a few of the same drawings I've already done,
Mm-hmm.
just and get knowledge from doing a couple extra types of poses. But yeah, I'm glad you picked up on that because that was my favorite moment of tonight's stream is pretty much milking this pose and getting pretty much this subtle pose to
Yeah,
get to that.
yeah, yeah,
And aside, yeah,
for sure. Well,
they're cool.
yeah, that was another epic evening of TV and movies again, drifting away from video games again. So that's good. You got to keep it fresh, mix it up a little bit. One of these days, maybe we'll do an hour on James Joyce's Ulysses. Because I'm sure that's what everybody wants to listen to people talk about.
They're clamoring for that. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that'll be on a very special episode. All right.
Cool.
Well, in any case, thanks for tuning in, everybody. Unless life goes pear-shaped again for us, we'll be back next week. Stay safe out there, and we'll see you on the flip side. Night, everybody.
Night.
Okay.